Lisa, you are assuming an office that places tremendous responsibility on you. This is the highest role in the association and carries with it the need for careful decisions and understanding. Chairing the AZA Board of Directors is not an easy task, but it is doable. As you are mindful of the honor and trust the members have bestowed upon you, do you accept this challenge?
I do.
Excellent. Lisa, you are now installed as the 99th chair of the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. Congratulations. And despite the fact that it says I would like to present this gavel to you, I do not have one of the many gavels that was bestowed upon me upon my tenure. So we'll fix that in a little bit. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Dear friends and colleagues, I stand here today. You're a big crowd. There's a lot of you. My heart's brimming over with gratitude and enthusiasm. I'm honored to accept the responsibility of working with you for a thriving future for animals, the communities we serve, and the planet we call home. Thank you. I won't let you down. First, I want to extend my thanks to our hosts, the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. Your hospitality has created a perfect backdrop for our gathering. And to the AZA staff who've orchestrated this conference with such precision and care, thank you for bringing us together and creating a conference full of opportunities to network and learn. I'd also like to extend my appreciation to the AZA Board of Directors, the current board, and the ones I've had the privilege to work with over the past 5 years. These individuals take their responsibility to this association seriously and give strategic direction to the highest priorities of our profession. They serve in their roles being acutely mindful that they represent each and every one of you. They are your board of directors, so find them, find me, and let us know how we can best serve you. And to my Zoo Knoxville people, I have to acknowledge this incredible team, both here and all the people keeping the place humming back home. Your support has allowed me to stand here today, and I'm so proud to be part of your team. The passion you pour into the work at our zoo is the foundation of every step I take. Speaking of foundations, there are two individuals who are the bedrock of my world, my boys, Isaac and Gabe. They're not just my biggest fans, they're the fuel that ignites me. As Gen Zers, they think differently. They are more accepting of our differences than my generation ever hoped to be. They don't just expect and accept inclusivity, they demand it from the organizations they work for, and they embrace it in their personal lives. They inspire me to drive change, to stand up for what I believe in, and they make me a better person every day. You know, I wasn't that little girl from Kansas, I was from Tennessee, but I never knew exactly what I wanted to do with my life. I had pets, but I wasn't obsessed with animals. I spent a lot of time outdoors, mostly because my mom wouldn't let us in the house. And family vacations were always camping trips because that's what we could afford. I wasn't that little girl who dreamed of going to college because I didn't have role models who'd done that. I didn't have a lot of help at home to guide me. But I had a grandmother who piled away her nickels as a tailor for JCPenney's and told me I'd always go to college. And so I did. I stumbled along with an interest in biology, but I still didn't know where I was headed. When I was 21 years old, my younger brother was tragically and suddenly killed. Unbeknownst to me, he had a small life insurance policy that I was the beneficiary of. I was crippled with grief. I considered dropping out of school. But instead, I chose to use those funds to explore the kind of future he would have wanted for me. With the blessing of that gift, I discovered there were careers in wildlife biology. I had the privilege to study spinner dolphins and humpback whales. I spent summers in Australia and Hawaii on small dinghy boats in the ocean and on mountaintops with a surveyor's transit tracking whale blows and movements. Out of money, I ultimately returned to Tennessee to decide my next move. As fate would have it, I got hired to work at Zoo Knoxville, where I hand-raised 2 orphan chimpanzees, Muggsy and Lou, and they changed the trajectory of my life. I decided instead of focusing my attention on the oceans, I'd focus on great apes and how they might thrive in our care. Later on, our zoo began to struggle. Weighed down with infrastructure decline and debt, it was given provisional accreditation, tabled. The zoo director announced his retirement. It was during that time I got called to be part of an accreditation inspection for Dallas Zoo. I saw how under the leadership of our dear late colleague Greg Hudson, the zoo moved from one struggling under city management to one that had privatized and was in a period of dramatic change. One determined person with a powerful vision and a team who believed had turned a place around. I knew then I want to do that. I can do that. I came back to Knoxville, applied for the job, and became the 5th zoo director, just like that. Not really. A divided board, but we did it. If our zoo was going to survive, it was necessary for us to do things as we had never done before. We had to change everyone's perspective and ultimately shift the paradigm, and we did. As AZA approaches its centennial year, we are also on the cusp of a paradigm shift. Just as we recognize the importance of entire ecosystems in nature, we must focus on nurturing the ecosystem within our zoo and aquarium profession. We can do that through the well-being of animals, the well-being of our visitors, and the well-being of our teams. There's a guiding principle that resonates deeply with me. It's called ikigai. Remember that word. I was hoping you were going to see it. We'll come back to it. There it is. Ikigai. It's a Japanese concept that serves as our compass for aligning our passion, profession, vocation, and mission. If you're good at it, the world needs it, you get paid for it, that's not just your livelihood, that's your purpose, that's your mission. We are a collective force driven by a mission that unites us all. But we can't do it without our teams, and none of it matters without inspiring action in our guests. Animals, it's who we are, and we are devoted to the well-being of animals everywhere. AZA's new well-being initiative launched last year under the leadership of Dr. Scott Terrell. In supporting that plan, we affirm that the well-being of animals is both our moral responsibility and foundational to AZA's mission. Today, I ask you to think about that concept, not just from the perspective of individual animals, but to entire populations and their long-term sustainability in our care. Many of our populations are facing crisis, and the only way to a sustainable future is a paradigm shift. It's not easy, but we've done it before. 20 years ago, we had a gorilla problem. A few facilities were holding large harem groups of one male and lots of females. There were lots of solitary males, many of them aging out without ever having a harem group of their own. They weren't thriving. They were languishing. There were zoos that wanted to be part of the gorilla program, but were told animals weren't available. However, under the leadership of two primatologists, Drs. Tara Stawinski and Kristen Lucas, the paradigm began to shift. It was based on science, on well-being, on consensus building, and asking for sacrifices to be made. Dr. Stawinski and Lucas advocated that we weren't managing Western lowland gorillas in the right size social group, not according to their natural history. The SSP began asking facilities to sacrifice their large group of gorillas for the greater good, to send out females to pair up with solitary males and create new social groups in zoos that wanted to participate. But they did more than that. They identified young males being born into the population, and they planned 5 and 10 years ahead to create male cohorts so that when these young boys aged out of their natal group, they didn't have to be alone. Slowly, the number of solitary males dropped to near zero. Zoos that wanted to participate with gorillas could do so, and gorilla well-being improved. Today, that population is thriving. We did that, and we have to again. The next opportunity is before us in an animal just as iconic as the gorilla, but with much more controversy: the elephant. After years of sounding the alarm, the crisis of our elephant populations finally hit home. Our elephant facilities realized if they were to emerge from this aging population bottleneck, we needed to shift the paradigm. Elephant holders said unequivocally, we are willing to do whatever it takes so that elephants are living their best lives according to their natural biology and not confined to the way we've managed them in the past. The past 2 years, the Elephant Strategy Task Force analyzed the data, had listening sessions with elephant holders, lots of them. The strategy to avert the crisis is bold, but it's achievable if we're willing to sacrifice in the short term for gains in the long term. Can you imagine the impact we can have if we adopt this philosophy across all animals in our care? We can do this. We are doing this. It's SSPs reimagined, right, Joe? Another example is the work of the Aquatic Collections Sustainability Committee to ethically and sustainably source aquatic animals and understand aquatic animal welfare needs, beginning with collection methods and supply chains for animals sourced from the wild. They're improving how we transport these animals and tracking longevity and health concerns throughout the life of individuals. They realize we can positively impact wild populations, wild habitats, and animal well-being if animals are produced locally rather than shipped from the other side of the globe, while still being mindful of how we impact the livelihoods of local suppliers in the species' native range, involving local communities. The larval program uses the expertise of AZA aquarists to breed and rear species at their home institutions rather than relying on wild sourcing alone. It won't address every species, but it's a start. Working together to shift long-standing paradigms of how we acquire and manage aquatic species is something we are doing as AZA. You know, just as we need our animals to thrive, we also must ensure the well-being of our guests, or we don't have a chance to inspire them to care. Today, I want to talk about the well-being of our guests through the lens of AZA's fifth promise, which embodies the spirit of unity, inclusivity, and transformation. It invites our guests not just to witness our efforts, but to be active participants in a shared mission. We aspire to be places where our guests feel safe, seen, heard, and respected. A zoo and aquarium for everyone. Safety. It's not just a physical attribute, but an emotional sanctuary where anyone can learn and explore without fear. To be seen means representation. not just in demographics and advertising, but in our stories and our staff. Regardless of how you identify in the world, you see others who look like you. We understand that not everyone experiences the world in the same way, and by listening to our guests, we can make simple but thoughtful changes. At our zoo, a family with a 10-year-old daughter had outgrown the baby changing table in their bathroom, and they had to change her on the bathroom floor, or rush to their van hoping they would make it in time. We listened. We added an adult changing table, and this simple addition made a drastic and dignified difference. Not just to one family, but thousands. Respect. It's the cornerstone of this promise. We respect the diverse backgrounds, experiences, and cultures that create a richer, more relatable ecosystem. It's critical that our local communities are at the table where decisions are made. They belong there. Belonging. It's a word that carries immense weight. We don't merely want our visitors to feel welcome. We want them to feel they belong in our spaces, in our purpose, and in our shared dreams for a better future. We need them. Caring for animals, inspiring our guests. These efforts are done by each and every one of you, and all those people kicking it back home. Our teams are the bedrock upon which this entire endeavor rests. We face a relentless battle against climate change, habitat degradation, and wildlife trafficking. Compassion fatigue is an undeniable reality. Yet our teams persevere with unwavering commitment. Is anybody tired? I'm tired. You know, just as we want our animals to be happy, healthy, and thriving, we realize our teams need care too. We have heard loud and clear the desire to create an employee culture that fosters safety, a sense of belonging, and equilibrium between professional and personal lives. If we don't invest in and train today's frontline staff, we risk losing the historical and collective expertise of our institutions. This knowledge is the very lifeblood of our animal programs. SAFE, SSPs, aquatic sustainability. It's AZA's fourth promise. We will empower zoo and aquarium professionals to be leaders in their field. Either we protect it and we nurture it, or the foundation of our business model is shattered. And so I return to Ikigai, that Japanese concept I talked about at the beginning. As we care for animals throughout their circle of life, and we foster a culture where the well-being of our team is cherished, we align with the very essence of Ikigai, what we love, what the world needs, and what we can be paid for. Not much, but paid for. In this blend of purpose, passion, and contribution, we find Ikigai alive. Together, I invite us to join in embracing change and shaping a future where well-being thrives in every aspect of our mission. Together, we can create a world where animals flourish, visitors are inspired, and teams are supported. Together, we embody Ikigai, a purposeful journey where our love for wildlife ignites change, one step at a time. Let's continue to shift paradigms and make a difference that resonates through generations. Thank you for being part of this incredible journey.